G'day, ladies and gentlemen, blokes and Sheilas, sips. It is Friday night. Nothing like a nice cold beverage after a weekend state approaching. Yeah, that's the way I look at it. We've gone through the week. It has made us weekend, and we've reached the weekend. It's interesting the way you can twist and turn words. I had a very interesting day today. I'm merging words. To cut a long story short, I put my hat on as I walked out the door. I jump in the car, I take my hat off, I put it on the passenger seat, I drive to work. I get to work, I pick my hat up, and out of my hat falls this strange little fucking piece of garbage, I guess, but it's a little Harry Potter token thing, and it's all folded up, and I'm like, how the hell did this get in my hat? Like, it's a strange scenario. Like, I mean, it's hanging up high, so it's not like the kids can go and stuff something into it. If they did, that was very creative of them. I'll give them that. Was it on the seat somehow? I don't know. Did my hat somehow scoop it up? Anyway, I picked my hat up and this flutters out in front of my lap. I'm like, what the hell? I unfold it, and the first thing I see is warning. I'm like, shit, that's a sign. I've got to be careful today. So I was really careful, and I let my guard down for one moment, and it snuck through. I ended up hitting something today and doing a little bit of damage to the truck. Turns out, even when Nostradamus or whatever it is that gave me this warning I got the warning, I heard it loud and clear. I'm like, all right, cool, I'll take that as a sign. I still missed it. So, it's one of those things you got to wonder if Nostradamus was sitting next to you and said, man, this is going to fucking happen, all right, cool. I'm all ears. I'm listening. Can we avoid it? Don't know. I tried. I failed today. Perhaps next time I get a warning, I'll hopefully get through. But yeah, it's just one of those strange things. And it was a very eerie morning too. Even when I got out, out of the house, just before I got in the car, I'm like, there's a deathly silence going on here. Like, where's the traffic? Like Tuesday, I was bailed up out in the street for 15 minutes trying to get out onto the main road. And that's a rare occurrence. It happens, obviously, but it's a very rare thing. And Friday, completely opposite. It was like 2 cars out there, and I'm like, I'm checking my phone to make sure it's a Friday and it's not Saturday, and I'm trying to go to work on the wrong day or something. Some fucking eerie shit going on today, I tell you. Very strange. So hopefully things return to a little bit more of the normality that we're used to, you know, like sips, we're going to do a podcast and hopefully nothing else bad happens. So we'll give it a go. We'll see how things are working. I forgot all about the fact that I had this thing. I've got to try this button out. I found this button. I need to see if it works. No, it's actually turned into some sort of a sound, I guess. It's not what I was expecting. All right. I didn't think it was a voice. I thought that was a sound effect. Anyway, speaking of sound effects, we should probably bring things into things. Hang on. What is it? Nope, there's somebody here. Look out. It's Heidi. How are you, Heidi?
I'm good. What was that?
What? Oh, hang on. I think it's Darryl. G'day, Darryl. How are you, mate?
Oh, I got it.
Good. Yeah, soundboard.
Nothing like staying
for a while.
It's Friday night.
That's it. Friday night. When farts are lumpy. Okay, so it did come through as a fart voice. So if I do this again, does it just sound like I'm farting constantly?
I'm not playing.
Constant farts. Is that what that is? Like, I can't hear it. So
sounds like you got gastro.
Serious gastro.
Some of this stuff out. I just thought, hang on, I haven't used that soundboard in a while. I should bloody bring it out again. You know, you never know when you might need to drop a bomb. You know, so
bombs and farts going off everywhere.
That's it. That's it. You know, it's an explosive. You know, one end or another.
Brain fart.
Brain farts.
Brain farts. I guess that's where we're going to go tonight. You know, we've roped in hopefully a whole bunch of randoms by using the term lawfare. The good old gay BC have come out with another hit piece, and what better way to run a hit piece than to use a former standover man, according to the internet. Or was it? Hang on, let's get this. I don't want to misquote it. I probably got that wrong. Let's make sure we get this terminology correct. It's very interesting. You know, I had to ask the internet to find out because, you know, some people had made some allegations and I thought I'd better check it out. This Mahmoud Fazal, which is a really Australian sounding name. Got to love it. And his links to bikie gangs and alleged crimes, you know, and based on the search engine, it comes back with, you know, this Black Power, Brothers of Life and Mongrel Mob and all this sort of stuff. But it doesn't seem to really focus in on the dude. I'm like, can you please elaborate on old mate? You know, and it reckons, I couldn't find any information on that person. I'm like, being associated with bikie gangs or committing crimes. I'm like, oh, that's fascinating. But I found this article, ABC Four Corners reporter Mahmoud Fazal's, apologies if I've said it wrong, but I believe that's how you say it. Surprising underworld links as police probe threat allegations by Friendly Geordie's YouTube producer. So I'm like, well, obviously there's an article here. How is AI not seeing it? AI, please, I better help you along. You know,
policies, they're controlled.
Yeah. So I pointed out Daily Mail regarding this dude and his threats. Oh, I've searched and now I found it. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that's what you were supposed to be doing in the first place, AI, but it's okay. You're a bit late to the party, but you got there in the end. That's the important thing. And it turns out that, yes, you know, the Daily Mail is accusing him of being a bikie thug, 42, accused of threats. Apparently news.com had Mongols bikie accused. And again, you know, they don't use the name, isn't it? Interesting, you know. Mm-hmm. It's all bikie thug, bikie thug, bikie thug, bikie thug, you know. But I actually looked for these articles and it's really hard to find them. You know, even when you go and go. I asked, all right, cool, let's look for these articles. I'm saying there's a Canberra Times, but this is Ali Balaba, and there's a whole bunch of other bikey related stuff, but not what we're looking for. I'm going, all right, cool. Channel 9, add old mate's name into it. Still, it doesn't seem to come up in search engines.
I wonder why.
Yeah, it's interesting. It seems to be like a bit of an internet blackout here. Of course, the ABC here have got this wonderful, thing about him. Cool tips. You can actually get tips from the guy. I don't know if it's footy tips or what, but apparently you can get tips from him, and you just use his He's got a Proton Mail. Isn't that interesting? He's using Proton Mail like most of the freedom fighters. Funny that.
Big Pond.
Say again, sorry?
I'm still on Big Pond.
Oh, really? Wow.
What's happening?
You're going to have to upgrade to Proton Mail. Even the ABC's bikie gangs are using it. So, but hang on. Where's my soundboard? What? Thought I had it here. It's disappeared.
No, it's Google.
Yeah, there it is. Hang on. Do I have a budum?
Can you hear that, Darryl? There's an echo.
Is there an echo? Echo.
Oh, you know what echoes mean?
Oh, well, that's some serious clapping.
Very.
Oh, I haven't got a badum ready to go, but we'll go with that instead.
Okay.
Anyway. So before joining the ABC, he worked for Vice as a senior staff writer and host of the series Violent Times. He's a writer and, podcast No Gangsters in Paradise. His reporting has appeared in The Guardian, Rolling Stone. They don't seem to mention anything about his former
bikie past
occupation as, being
An
a part
outlaw.
of a bikie gang. Yeah, an outlaw. It's funny, and here's a shot of him being Mongols or whatever they call themselves.
Sure what that's him?
Well, apparently, according to this, I don't know. I mean, it's the Daily Mail saying this. It's not me saying this. I'd just like to make that clear. This is just what I've found on the internet and what the internet is saying. And if it's on the internet, it must be true.
It must be.
We know these things, especially from legitimate sources such as the Daily Mail.
Yeah.
Or ABC.
Yeah, or the
ABC.
Yeah. So, apparently, the producer of Friendly Geordie says he was feared for his safety after the Four Corners reporter allegedly passed on threats made by a notorious organised crime family. Christo Lanka, who works with Friendly Geordie's creator Jordan Shanks, claims he received the warnings through ABC investigative journalist Mahmoud Fazal. Fazal has strongly denied doing anything wrong, and the ABC, which describes his work as extremely challenging, is it extremely challenging to work with him, around him, or is it just the way he works challenging? I don't know. Impactful and important public interest journalism. Yeah, I guess we all want to know what's going on inside the bikie world and how heavily they're affiliated with places like the ABC, which receive government funding, which kind of ties the government in to a criminal outlaw gang in a sense, doesn't it? I don't know. Like, you guys are a little bit more knowledgeable in the law. Is that the correct assertion, perhaps, or theory?
I mean, doesn't Friendly Geordies have a very close affiliation with one ex-prime minister?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. I think
I've never really looked much into Friendly Geordies, to be honest.
Yeah, it would be Kevin Rudd. Very heavily affiliated with Mr. Dud. Oh, I mean Rudd.
Yeah.
Who actually
make it all the time.
He's very much on the nose of one particular president.
Say that again. Sorry, Heidi.
King of Australia.
Sorry, what was that, Heidi?
Kevin Rudd being the King of Australia. Is that not true, Darryl?
Well, yeah, but we've also got to take into
in the crown in right of the state, not the Commonwealth.
Yeah, but we've got to look at the relationship between Kevin Rudd and one President Trump.
Well,
And
as I understand it, it's not much of a relationship. It's more of a hate-hate relationship, isn't it?
yeah, that's it. And it's predominantly that relationship that's caused a rift between the current Prime Minister, Mr. Albanese, and Mr. Trump, because it's sort of behind the scenes, Trump's telling Albanese, can you please get rid of this Kevin Rudd as the ambassador for Australia in Washington? And he's saying no. And so Mr. Trump says no to Mr. Albanese. So it's a rabbit warren.
Can we blame it all on Dud, though? Oh, sorry, Rudd. I mean, Albanese himself has openly stated that Trump scares the shit out of him.
Yeah, but in diplomatic terms, we have to look at this, put all of your feelings aside. It's all about politics. And, okay, current Prime Minister with current President. Australia has always been a very strong ally of the United States.
Yep.
And,
if they withdraw their military support, we're done for.
Basically. But America's got so much interest here in Australia. It has to be seen that we've got always on good friendly terms with the United States. Like them or love them, it has caused us in a historical sense to have the best law in the world here in Australia, because when our framers created federation, they looked very much at the US Constitution and applied a lot of the what the Americans enjoy, their democratic society over there. In fact, our mob improved it. So we've got the best body of law here in the world. And
now, can I ask you a question? Does Washington still exist?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, while the Vatican exists and City of London exists, it's all there. It's part of that network of the cabal, or whatever you like to call them. But it's there. It's in reality. There's no secrets. It's all on the public.
I think the seat's open. I think the seat there is open. But I'm going to go on record here. I'm not getting into this depth of that conversation.
But friendly Geordies, it's a very political game they play. The Labor Party really don't like being exposed for their blatant socialist sort of policies, which we're now seeing expressed around Australia. So, and we've got these, let's face it, when you look at the colours that we all are required to go and vote for once every 3 years, the red team has a very strong presence around Australia. And it's not healthy. We're dealing with very draconian policies, and it's like they're taking the gloves off, and they really are hitting us all where it hurts, more so now than any other time in our past. So the Labor Party have been building up to this for a long time, and now they've got all their people in the right place, and they're putting the right pressure on, and they're bringing all these draconian socialist laws in. And we are sitting there like basically champions in a bowling alley waiting to be bowled over. So what are we going to do about it, Australia? What are we going to do?
That's a $1 million question.
We could, because it's an indissoluble right, but what we have to decide whether we're residents of the Commonwealth or we're citizens of Australia under the 1948 Citizens Act. So that's
okay. That's a matter of form.
Sure.
So we've got to take.
Sorry, I'm just going to stop you there for a second there, because there's been a few calls for clarification to make sure that we can prove that these claims have been made. And just like from Yahoo News itself, scares me, elbows huge Trump admission. And here's the quote here. He, being Trump, scares the shit out of me, from Albanese's mouth himself. And of course, there's the village idiot comment from the village idiot himself. Kevin Dudd, the guy who brought us the alco pop tax. So every time you go to buy a can of rum or Jim Beam or something that's got a premix in it and you see the ridiculous price, you get to thank this dickhead because it was his fucking idea. Apparently he was saving children from youthful alcoholism by getting an alcopop tax onto, you know, sugary flavored alcohol. Never mind the fact that anybody who's been, you know, drunk as a teenager knows that goon is the way to go, the good old $10 chuck. Although with the amount of taxes these guys are chucked on, it's probably a $20 chuck by now.
Yeah.
How much is a bag of goon these days? Anybody know? Last I checked, it was $10. It's been a long time, admittedly, somewhere in the vicinity of, I think, about 20 or 30 years. But anyway, yeah, probably closer to 30. Anyway.
All right. Let's get off topic and let's talk about what really is what Darryl and I have been talking about this week. That's what I really want to get out to people. Persona designata. And how every court case...
Before we jump to persona designata, we should probably deal with the title. What is jurisdiction? We'll start at the base level and work our way up, perhaps.
Yeah. So what is jurisdiction? Well, jurisdiction is what's exercised predominantly in the courts. And at the lowest courts, basically, you've got a big problem because there's no ability to challenge legislation. See, one of the roles of the courts is to not only pass a conviction, but courts are a separate entity, supposedly, from the parliament and separate from the executive. They form part of government, but they're a very important part. And historically, we've inherited in our court system a jurisdiction that allows any one of us to go into a particular court and have a declaration come out of that court which wipes out a law that the parliament has passed. So that makes the courts under judicial review the most powerful arm of government. Okay, and that's very important. And this is what's been sort of glossed over, in particular by the parliamentary system. So we've got a parliamentary system that's operating a Days of Our Lives soap opera, and it's been running that way for way too long. And they want us to concentrate on what the Greens, the Reds and the Blue are up to, instead of looking at the laws. And they sort of, the propaganda machine pushes out that once this becomes law, that's it. Well, that's not the case. Your courts have the capacity to look at that law, and you ask the court the right question. You put the blinkers on the court, so jurisdiction, they're the blinkers.
Jurisdiction is the Defence Act, yeah?
Yeah, any act, doesn't matter what the act is, doesn't matter what the law is. You can go into that particular court and you can ask the court, can you interpret this law that's just come out of the parliament against the Constitution of the Commonwealth? And if they see a problem with it, they'll throw it out, and that law has no effect. So it's the most powerful part of government. They don't want you. That's one of the best kept secrets in Australia.
So what
it's
I
also
realised,
in America.
Sorry, Darryl, keep going. Yep.
It's in England, and it's called the prerogative. It's a jurisdiction that all of our courts, not all of them, sorry, it's the Supreme Court of the state and it's the High Court of Australia. They can exercise this prerogative in a regional jurisdiction, which allows the court to review a law. And it's the judicial review of a law. And that's what we're building up now. So we've got this Online Safety Act, which is coming in December, right? And it's specifically Section 63D, Can you pull that up, Betty?
Yep. Give me a second.
Yeah. The punters need to look at this because it's very subtle. What this section's doing, it is doing indirectly what the government cannot do directly. So what it does, it puts and with an incredibly heavy civil penalty of 30,000 penalty units.
Yeah, but how can you have a penalty unit on a civil case?
Well, I'm only going off what the Act says. And when you read the Act, it says...
Sorry, what was that section again? So Online Safety Act 2021.
Yep, section
the Legal Service Commissioner bringing
63 capital D.
You can't have a
civil proceedings for the recovery of a penalty. Hang on, no, that's not it. Ah, there it is. Yep. Okay, cool. Completely broken up this thing. Okay, here we go. Okay. So, civil penalty for failing to take responsible steps to prevent. I was thinking politicians and instantly pervert came to mind. Steps to prevent age-restricted users having accounts. A provider of an age-restricted social media platform must take responsible steps to prevent age-restricted users having accounts with the age-restricted social media platform.
Yep.
What is that?
So it's pretty vague.
The key words are must take reasonable steps.
Yeah.
Okay. So what they can't do directly, so they can't write an act that says, right, you, the end user, you're the one at home who has freedom of political communication. You now have to provide identification in order to access anything online, right?
So we all have to.
Yeah, but this section takes the onus off the government doing that, which they cannot do, and they put it on the provider of the service that you're accessing on the internet. So they say
this seems familiar. I'm having a case of deja vu maybe about 4 years ago and a medical treatment.
Yes.
The 10 providers that were corrupted this year by cyberspace bullying. Who were they?
Yeah. The bullying legislation was all about leading up to this. So then they could stand up and say, hey, listen, a couple of 16-year-olds or 14-year-olds have run out in front of a bus because they were being bullied on social media. And, that's a terrible thing. But that's the mantra they're now using to sell to Australia to say, hey, listen, as of December 2025, you are all now required, and it won't be a government order. It will be an order that will come through whoever you're trying to get onto, like YouTube or Rumble or any of these service providers on internet. They will require you to give your identification to show that you're not under 16.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So,
and I can't help but think that Australia is a perfect testing ground in this regard, because at the end of the day, if all of Australia said, well, fuck you, YouTube's going to be like, well, your population is so insignificant, I really couldn't give a rodent's rectum about whether you all protested.
That's right. But this is the key to understand here is the pressure has been put on these providers with the threat of a 30,000 penalty units. So if you do the math on that, that's about 2.2 million Australian dollars.
Wow.
Okay. So if you the provider,
the 16-year-old.
But it's not the end user that suffers the penalty, it's the provider.
Yeah.
It's
but
like
today, so
it's
like
like
Medicare.
Yeah, but it's like the provider, let's go back 4 years, and what were they doing? They were saying no work unless you can prove you've been jabbed. And who was putting the pressure
Valerie's got
on?
a very valid question here. December 25th. Why pick Christmas Day? Well, it's a very typical Labor Party thing to do. Gough Whitlam chose December 31st while everybody's out at New Year's Day having a good time, waking up with a fucking hangover, and all of a sudden you realise you've also been raped by the Labor government.
Yeah. It's got symbolic. It is very symbolic. But the key is to understand that it's and we're actually filing a case. We've pretty much finished the paperwork for the High Court, and we want the High Court to declare the Online Safety Act as void. Okay. And we're asking the court, and I'll just go through the basics. It fails the Act, and that's 63D. That fails what's called proportionality. Okay. So it's out of proportion. You're saying that because a few under 16-year-old kids suicided because of bullying online, that everyone in Australia now who uses the internet is going to have to provide evidence of their identification in order to access the service that providers put on the internet. And that's the proportionality test. So it's out of balance. There's no justification for this sort of draconian sort of legislation or pressure that the internet providers will be putting back on their end users. So the government's standing back.
We can't get it going. We ring a Filipino that says they're from Melbourne that you can't understand, and they block you anyway.
Yeah, it's out of proportion. And the other thing that we're going to put to the court is it's interfering with your ability to politically communicate. Okay. And that's enshrined in the Constitution. And this is what the US has as their First Amendment right of freedom to politically communicate. And this is what we've got here enshrined through our Constitution, Section 7, 24, and Section 128 of the Constitution. And the High Court of Australia have said this on a number of occasions. So it's in the Telecommunications Act. You can't get away with this sort of thing. So you cannot force somebody to do a particular task in order to politically communicate. Okay. And there are a couple of the tests that we're putting to the High Court of Australia, and there are other things as well, but just for the punters, these are the two tests that we know will fail. One of the other tests is when we went through the Act, it relies, because every piece of legislation has to have a head of power. So there has to be something in the Constitution that grants a power to bring about any form of legislation. And this is where the Online Safety Act fails. When you go through the Act, they say that Section 51(5), Section 51(39), and Section 122 of the Constitution are the heads of power to bring about this legislation. Well, when you read those sections, no, that's not the case. It's not the case. So, and of course, we've got High Court precedents to back us up there. So it's going to be fairly well slam dunk. And this Online Safety Act it'll have to go down the gurgler, because it does not, it actually encroaches upon our ability to politically communicate, and there's no proper justification for it through the excuse they're using, which is age restriction. So they're going to have to go back to the drawing board. But the more people, we're actually looking for someone to go down as a plaintiff. Therein lies a bit of a problem.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll come back to that for a second. I just want to point out that I actually received this a couple of weeks ago regarding obviously PooTube here. You see August 12th, 2025, just after I did the podcast with Dave from the Living Free movement. It was deemed that sharing the Living Free Festival webpage was a dangerous thing to do. And what I need to do is to help keep our community safe. We limit some of our more powerful features to channels that have built and maintained a positive channel history and who have provided verification. So YouTube's already going down this path, and I mean, Facebook is doing it. They want two-step verification, as someone in the comments pointed out earlier. I think I got to a point I was just about locked out of my account, and I'm like, well, I've got to keep things going, and unfortunately, giving up more information than you want to in order to maintain things. It's ridiculous. Provide video or ID verification for quicker access. Oh wow, I really want the convenience of being fucked over really fast. It seems that everything's already going this way, and the government's just going, yeah, no worries, we'll help you. Like they're all in league. It's like you can't say the government's just strictly forcing it when they already seem to want to do it. And I'm sure this isn't just an Australian only isolated scenario. They already want to do it themselves. And if anyone was wondering, I will bring up the other point there.
They have done it in England, and this is they don't have, like, England don't have the protection of the free political communication as we do. Okay, they don't have, one of the biggest problem with the United Kingdom, they don't have a constitution. Okay, now what's the constitution mean?
England don't have a constitution?
That's right. That's
I didn't know that.
And
wow.
In fact, England are suffering now because they don't have a defined constitution. So then you've got to go, well, hang on, Darryl, what are you saying?
We have an indissoluble one.
We have a constitution. So what is that constitution? It's the operator's manual. And who's the operator? We, the people. It's our manual on how government have to run.
Now, before you get too far on that, man, I like, considering we called this Lawfare, and I'm taking the piss out of what the Gay BC did the other day.
I'm fussing, but anyway, keep going.
I just wanted to point. I only watched the first 2 minutes. I was contemplating doing, a Sunday thing where I watch it myself and comment as I go through. But I realized Robin and Michael have kind of already done that on the Cafe Lockout thing. So I don't know, ladies and gentlemen, you let me know. Do you want me to watch it live with you the first time? I've never seen it, and just give my opinion as you go. My wonderful family in the background will star those comments. And I think if we get enough people going, yeah, Batty, we want to watch you watch that, because seriously, I've only watched the first 2 minutes. I got to this comment and I thought, I don't need to really know much more about this. This comment summed it all up.
There is no sovereign citizen movement.
Whatever they call themselves, these groups are united in a belief that the government is illegitimate. They operate in an alternate reality where people have ultimate authority over the state.
So, hang on. Heidi was talking over the top of that very important thing. Sorry, Heidi. I really want to emphasize the wording here.
Whatever they call themselves, these groups are united in a belief that the government is illegitimate. They operate in an alternate reality where people have ultimate authority over the state.
So they've just stated that basically anybody who thinks the people have an ultimate authority over the state are living in a fictional reality. Now, you were just saying that the Constitution says otherwise, and I'm wondering, is it the ABC, or the Gay BC, as I prefer to call them, living in an alternate reality that is based on fiction because there is legal precedent? Or is the Gay BC perhaps telling us that we're living in a communist, authoritarian dictatorship and we should just shut up and put up with it?
I think it's the opinion of that particular reporter and whether he has been coached to say that. But all we need to
Well,
do.
the ABC aired it on their network, and I kind of feels a bit of guilt by association.
But okay, but if we only
And they're
in
happy
order
to defend that fella making that statement, as we pointed out at the beginning, ties to a bikie gang. You know, by what I think, you know, by what is being stated here in you know, other
But we have
articles
to,
from perhaps the Daily Mail.
so we only have to look at the preamble to the Constitution of the Commonwealth, and that says everything. That's all you got to do. You know, and this is what I would put in response.
I'll bring that up.
Bring it up, and it's there for everyone to read. It's self-explanatory. Now, funnily enough, when they were leading up to Federation, and I'm talking probably 20 years before Federation, Barton, who was our first Prime Minister, he actually drafted the first preamble, right? And he changed his original draft. And when you pull it up, I'll show you where he made the change.
Projects here. It's really clear. Constitution, what you're going to put up in a minute, right? Well,
hang on. Let's go through. You guys will guide me through this a lot quicker. So the
preamble is that there it is.
Yep.
That's the preamble, right? The top paragraph is the preamble. So just that very top paragraph where it's got 9 July 1900. Yeah, that.
So whereas the people of New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia, Queensland and Tasmania, humbly relying on the blessing of Almighty God, having agreed to unite in one indissoluble federal commonwealth under the crown of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland and under the Constitution hereby established.
Right. So that original draft said, whereas the governments of New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia. Yeah.
So the difference is since Queensland, New South Wales, right now we're acting as state of Queensland, state of New South Wales.
Yeah.
They've changed.
They have, but the thing is, I just want people to concentrate on what that preamble undoes the claims of being a sovereign citizen and the like.
You can't
it's
be.
People who have the ultimate say. And then you've got to go to section 724 and 128 of the Constitution and section 123, and it's over for them because and the High Court have said this. The High Court have said the sovereignty of the people.
What were those numbers again, Darryl?
Section 7.
Section 7?
So the Federal Council of Australia is hereby repealed, but so as to affect the laws passed by the Federal Council, and so may be repealed by any state parliament of the Commonwealth or as to any colony not being a state by the parliament thereof. What the High Court said is our members of parliament, which we vote in,
Separate to government,
are our representatives. So, and when we go and vote, and have a look at section 24. When we vote, we exercise sovereignty. Okay. And this is what the High Court said. It's just what the High Court said. They said the people of Australia exercise their sovereignty every time they go and vote.
and we are one of the luckiest countries still to have this in place.
And section 128, of course, is the referendum section, and section 123, if they want to alter the borders of any of these states, then they need us, the people, to vote for it. Right? So
what was that first section again? Sorry?
123.
But that's why lest we forget, our forefathers fought for our freedom, the Father and the Son that sit back to back. Don't forget. Don't forget a lot of us don't really understand what the Anzacs fought and how they fought and why they fought. Don't
Well, they
forget
fought,
this. For
I
our-
thought we fought against the socialism of the Nazis.
Literally,
You know,
that's
a socialist workers' party, which seems to have a lot in common with the Labor Party, just, you know, being as they're also a socialist workers' party.
they fought for it.
It's an observation I've made.
They put this document together to ensure that we're okay.
So if
Yeah.
you see there, it says, and the approval of the majority of the electors of the state. Right? With the approval. Right. So they can't alter the state boundaries until they've held a state-based referenda.
Mm.
Okay. So with respect to the size of the state, if a new state wants to be formed, so if a group of people got together and said, hey, listen, we don't like the laws of New South Wales, so we're going to create a new state, and they go through this process through the Commonwealth Parliament to say, hey, listen, we want our state, and you go to the state parliament and say, we want you to fulfil your obligation under Section 123 to either diminish or increase the size of the state.
Mm.
So you then go to the vote. And so we have the powers, the people have the powers with respect to voting for our representatives in the parliament at both the Senate and the
There's a
House of
comment
Representatives.
now that says they have the power in there to change the laws. Well, I think,
But not the Constitution.
The Constitution, Section 128. So you go to Section 128, and that's where our power comes in to alter the Constitution itself. Right. So that's, and there's a
This
separate
Constitution shall not be altered except in the following manner. The proposed law for the alteration thereof must be passed by an absolute majority of each house of the Parliament, and not less than 2 nor more than 6 months after its passage through both houses. For proposed law shall be submitted in each state to the electors qualified to vote for the election of members of the House of Representatives. Well, instantly, I'm wondering about the both houses things here in Queensland. We don't have both houses. It's a bit of a problem. Anyway, but if either house passes any such proposed law by an absolute majority and the other house rejects or fails to pass it, or passes it with any amendment to which the first mentioned house will not agree, and if after an interval of 3 months, the first mentioned house in the same or next session again passes the proposed law by, my God, I don't know about anybody else, my head is swimming, by an absolute majority, with or without any amendment which has been made or agreed to by the other house. And, you know, I reckon if I wrote a sentence like that when I was in primary school, my teacher would have slapped me and gone, where's the fucking full stop? I got to breathe, man.
And that's the problem.
It's
It
better
just
than
keeps going. That's a sentence?
Yeah.
It's better
Apparently you get
than
away with anything in law.
But in when you know how to read law, you can see the gold in there, and you know this is where we can undo the misbehaviour of the current system. You know, it doesn't matter whether the system's corporate or not. It's the system rely on this document. If you go to clause 5 of the Constitution, this has been argued so many times in the court.
I'm going up, yeah, to clause 5 or down?
Yeah, right up to the beginning.
That's what I thought. Cool.
So clause 5, it's there it is.
I went past it, didn't I? Yep.
Go to clause 5, and there's the most powerful, one of the most powerful parts of this Constitution. This act and all the laws made by the Parliament of the Commonwealth under the Constitution shall be binding on the courts, judges, and people of every state. Right,
Courts,
and that's
judges, and people. It's interesting that courts and judges are separated from people.
That's why we're now called persons.
Yeah, but that's the corporate argument, but what I'm trying to do is just establish the power that this Constitution has, and it puts in. This is what England hasn't got, And because England hasn't got a specific act for which every other law stems from, and the powers of the parliament and who's who in the zoo, England hasn't got this. They've got, they can look back on the Magna Carta.
We are one of the last countries in the world to have it.
Yeah. So you've got a number of Magna Cartas. You've got 1215, 1225, 1235, 1253, 1275, 1297. So it's England's law system is based on a body of law, but there's nothing really specific allowing the people to have the voice that we have, like we have through this Constitution of the Commonwealth of Australia.
That sounds like the foundation of how the law started, though.
But when we look back at England and fairly recent history, we come across this thing called Brexit, right? So, and the argument is, well, okay, but the people of England voted to go into the European Union, the Parliament of the European Union, the EU, okay, and they did. So how did they do that if they don't have a constitution? Well, in 1918, they passed a law, the English Parliament passed a law that gave it's called the People's Referendum Act. And in that act, they gave a very limited power. So it's only with respect to certain actions that the Westminster government authorise, nothing like the power we have through our constitution, nothing like it. And they then said to the people of England, they pushed this big political campaign relating to free trade, and they said, listen, we need to be part of we need to dissolve the British Empire, and we need to set ourselves up as a state within the European Union. And that then we just become our parliamentary system just becomes like a local government. So we're just a state government sort of equivalent. It's not the authority that the British Empire was. And they agreed to do that. And of course, things weren't working out quite so well. And then David Cameron, in about 2010, I think it was, he started promoting, because there was a lot of kickback from the people of England saying, this EU Parliament's just all rubbish. So we need to have a vote to either stay in the EU and then seal that deal forever, or people of England can say no and we'll get out. And we know the history. And they got out. And the system of government were just, they were in that river in Africa. They were just going, no, please don't. It backfired on them. And this was 2015, 2016. And they haven't recovered since. And Keir Starmer today is basically, one of the only prime ministers since Brexit that's just totally ignored Brexit, and he's now basically standing in that EU. He is denying, he doesn't want to have anything to do with what the people of England have expressed. So we're very lucky here. We have our constitution which restricts government and what they can and cannot do. And unfortunately over there, they don't have that enshrined political freedom of communication like we have here. And as such, they brought in the Online Safety Act over there, and they're using it. You know, they're putting curfews. They're saying, right, from 5 o'clock every night, everyone's got to be inside. And one guy got arrested for hanging outside a pub, and he had a sign over him saying, Jesus loves you. And so they arrested him. You know, these sort of draconian actions are happening over there because they haven't got what we have, this body of law that calls the system into account when they do stupid things. And this is what our courts have got, and the English courts have got this power as well, to wipe out legislation. Their court is the Supreme Court, which is where the Privy Council is. And the Privy Council were disconnected from the monarch in 2009. And it was a very controversial thing. So the Privy Council have always been that sort of bastion of the body of law that calls out the parliamentary system if they misbehave. And they
Sorry to
disconnect.
cut you just there, man, but can you explain what the Privy Council is for those who have no fucking idea what you're talking about?
It's the Privy Council is made up of people from the House of Lords who are put in a judicial role, and they directly advise the monarch. So if you look at, for instance, when they created federation here in Australia, if you look at the letters patent that granted the Constitution of the Commonwealth here in Australia, you'll see that it was Queen Victoria and her Privy Council essentially approved this act, and we endorse it and we seal it. Okay. And that Privy Council was a very, very powerful arm of governance right up until 2009. And they had to neutralise that as much as possible and neutralise the power of the executive, which is what they achieved. And they put the Privy Council into the Supreme Court over there, and you can still utilise that Privy Council, but it's disconnected from the monarch. So it can act as a court, but in order to get to that Privy Council, you've got to go through the High Court over there. So it's called the Queen's Bench. And then you go to the Court of Appeal, then you go to the Supreme Court, and then to the Privy Council. Here in Australia, we can go straight to our High Court, the highest court in the land. Right? We can go straight there. We put the jurisdiction blinkers on them and we go, right, is this law valid? Can you interpret this law against the Constitution of the Commonwealth? And if it fails, they just go bang out the door. When was the last time they did it? 2023. Okay. And they called out the states who were imposing, Victoria was imposing electric vehicle tax, and the rest of the states were salivating behind the Attorney General of the Victorian government in the High Court, knowing they're going to earn millions of dollars. And the High Court said, no, it fails. It's a breach of Section 90 of the Constitution of the Commonwealth. So we're throwing that law out. Now what's happened as a result of that is the Commonwealth are now going to tax electric cars, right? And they have that power under Section 90 of the Constitution. So, that's, and I bring you back to Clause 5. That Constitution's binding on the courts, judges, and people of every state. So we keep forgetting this. It's a very important.
You've got your voice back. I'm so pleased about that.
Actually, there was somebody who commented earlier that they weren't used to hearing you without your croaky voice. Where was it?
Keep going.
Yeah, that's true. I'm back.
You're back.
I'm back.
Yeah, here it is. Harps 338 LM. I'm not used to the non-croaky Darryl. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has too. It's been too long.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you're feeling a lot better, my friend. I'm sure we all are.
I'm going to put out here, this man nearly died.
Yeah, I did.
He was on death's bed. He's been extremely sick. He's had a couple of operations. And when I say he's back, he is well and truly back. And he is,
I must say it is an amazing testament that, you're not long out of hospital and straight back into it, like didn't even bat an eyelid. Yeah, Batty, I'll be there. And I'm like, are you sure, man? Like I feel bad even texting you. I didn't want to call because I didn't want to make you speak.
Oh no. My heart, I've always had this fire in me.
Schwarzenegger's got nothing now, Darryl.
Well, look out for the system.
Anyway, I'm just because I haven't seen you like this for a long time. You really need it. A long time not talking.
It took the piss out of me, I tell you. It really did.
Yeah.
So, and I got to meet the Grim Reaper and everything. So yeah, it was quite a journey, but I'm here. And
and nothing like Bill and Ted's Grim Reaper, as you were saying,
mate. It really wakes you up real quick. I'll tell you, it's wow. It's wow time, So who's that dude? I'm not ready.
Well, it's a proper Conan the Barbarian. Conan, what is good in life sort of moment.
That's right.
He's still here, so that's good.
Hey, there's a comment there. So Vanderstock and it is a waste of time, Darryl. We cannot use it in Queensland. That's incorrect. I'm sorry. When the High Court makes a ruling, it goes across Australia. Now, if any law has been struck out by the High Court and a state government ignores that, they are in contempt of the High Court.
Correct.
Okay? Contempt of the High Court. You don't want to be in that position.
But yeah.
They have to. Every state, if it applies, like the Vanderstock case, Victoria lost that case. Sorry?
So you go to the High Court, there's a full bench, there's 13. So I've got an appeal coming up. I found out today I've got 3 judges sitting on the panel.
Yeah.
2 might say yay, 2 might say nay. That's how undecisive the law is. So HCA,
But it's the most powerful court, and when you
how does the magistrates court acknowledge a HCA if they don't recognise the constitution that brought about the HCA?
Well, then that magistrates court or lower court is under judicial review. It's contempt of the High Court.
Me, but how?
Oh, wow. North Queensland Freedom Network Facebook just got fucking blocked by the look of things. We are having trouble streaming to this Facebook account.
I wonder why.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Something
Wasn't me, Darryl. Wasn't me. I haven't
It's now. I've now got 0 viewers on that, and I can't remember how many there was before, but there was a hell of a lot more.
Oh, they're panicking. It's a sensitive time. They don't like.
There's another Facebook account that has not been censored. That one's still functioning, but the North Queensland Freedom Network just got. I'm guessing it must be somebody flagged it.
No, Mick's here. He's like, it just dropped out.
They don't like
revitalize it. No, of course not.
Darryl, you naughty, naughty, naughty boy.
No, I'm back.
Well, isn't it interesting, like, where they go on about all the SOV citizens and all that sort of stuff, that nobody that I've had on this podcast talking about law got a mention. It's a bit insulting, don't you think?
All your Facebook pages. I've got 2 subjects sitting here that I want to talk about, and I'm busting, and we haven't even got there. So we're guaranteed to be shut down tonight.
I've taken the high position.
There's people still commenting.
All right, so they've just said they've had to go to X, but they seem to be commenting from Facebook, which is really interesting. I've just rebooted the Facebook one, and look, this is a prime opportunity to remind people that there are multiple ways you can check this. If you're on whatever channel, Facebook, YouTube, or whatever, you can always go to X. Rumble is always one of the best freedom platforms. BitChute is also another very safe freedom platform. I know it doesn't have all the bells and whistles and the polishing that PooTube and Facebook have, but X, Rumble, and BitChute at the moment are probably your 3 safest options. Even Facebook, I just reset it. Thank you for confirming that it works. Thank you, Paula. But it's always good to have the smorgasbord of options available. Again, Telegram is a way, because I hear notifications don't go through. I'm also hearing that YouTube even unsubscribe people. And funny enough, there's I don't know, something like 500 odd subscribers on YouTube, but I end up with 20 or 30 views from YouTube. So why aren't those subscribers getting the notifications? what's going on there. If you are seeing this on one of those lesser channels, it's possibly a good time to make a switch to a channel that is not fucking you over, such as Facebook and YouTube are probably the two biggest ones for screwing people over. So yeah, have a backup option, ladies and gentlemen, if you can.
Darryl finish what he's got to say because I'm busting to tell everybody something. When you finished.
Yeah, go.
All
Go,
right.
Heidi.
I've had the most amazing sort of fairy tale story. An appeal of a bodged whatever trial that went down, and I realised something, that under section 42 of the Justice Act, because I prosecuted a bunch of cops, and 53 of the Justice Act, that's Queensland, that the court has to file a summons and complaint on you. They have to file further and better particulars. They have to file a brief of evidence. So I've actually gone into the court now and said, can I have a look at my file? Nothing there. And the registrar's literally like, I don't know. And literally making up like play pantomimes. I'm just going to go and check. And he walks into the court. He must stand there for 5 minutes. Oh, yeah, she believes I've had a look. And he walks back out again. It's just the biggest fucking joke ever. If there is no particulars filed on a court registry pursuant to section 42, what would I know? Nothing. The man sitting on the left-hand corner of my screen taught me what I know. So blame him. No. No. Yeah, blame him. It's information.
So the motorcycle gang from the ABC suddenly takes out Darryl. We'll know why.
Yeah.
No, it's information only. Yeah, well, that's Brawns versus Brains. How tragic. Anyway, so it actually says here under 42, except otherwise expressly provided, or where the defendant has been arrested without warrant, or all proceedings under the Act shall be commenced by a complaint in writing. So if you get infringement, anything, notice to appear, they are not complaints. So every single thing, as I see it, there is no file in the court until you opt to go to trial. They're all acting in, what is it called, Darryl? Persona designata. Right? They're acting off ledger. They're acting
now is the appropriate time. I know it took an hour to get there, but persona designata, let's lay that on the table. Exactly what does that mean?
Explain it. I'm busting to explain this because it's every single person at work, person, inverted commas, that walks into court on any given day is faced with this. Tens of thousands of people are walking into court when the court, presumably, what would I know, does not have jurisdiction. The court's jurisdiction is not enlivened if the particulars are not filed in court, pursuant to section 42 and 53 of the Justice Act.
So, I mean, help me understand this, because the commencement of the proceedings is, dependent on except where otherwise expressly provided, or where the defendant has been arrested without warrant.
You got arrested, or you got
arrested without warrant. They obviously been taken at the moment of a specific crime. All proceedings under this act shall be commenced by a complaint in writing, which may be made by the complainant in person, or by the complainant's lawyer or other person authorized in that behalf. So that would seem to be that
initiating officer in writing,
maybe in person, or by the complainant's lawyer. So it almost seems that, okay, you can do it in writing, but you can also do it in person at the time. So
but who's in?
can you explain how that's not happening?
Well, you get pulled over, you get arrested by the cops. You get pulled over,
Mhm.
infringement notice, speeding. Who's the complainant? So they bring it in front of the court and they say, QPS. Oh, if it pleases the court, for the record, my name is Gravino, initial, what's her name? G. Anyway, Gravino, initial G, and I'm for the QPS. The QPS is not a juristic entity known at law that can sue or be sued. The only person that can be is the Commissioner of Police. But they act under the guise of Crown and Right of the Commonwealth when they're the Crown and Right of the state. So therefore, the actual officer that pulls you up has no idea that he is actually the respondent. He is actually the complainant, and he is the liable party. It says it right there in the act. And
Rightio.
he has to make the complaint, and he has to bring the complaint. So, irony, you asked to see your court file, as I have. There's nothing there. It's not filed in the court. So, if there's no summons and complaint pursuant to 43, 42, if there's no in writing, the court can't enliven jurisdiction to make you be compelled to do fucking anything.
But it does also say by the complainant in person or by the complainant's lawyer. So shouldn't they be able to audibly present that on the day as well?
No, the prosecutor's not a lawyer. They're not an officer. They're an officer of the court.
Is the prosecutor classified as a complainant, though?
No. They are the prosecutor for the complainant, but unless you're a lawyer, you can't bring it.
So a complainant is not a lawyer.
Let's say you complain to me. I can go in there and complain on your behalf. It's not what the act says. Right? So prosecutions is using it to the point when I've just filed a section 2.
So just as I'm just trying to think of how this would play out. You know, I'm there. They've brought forth a speeding fine. We'll keep it nice and trivial and easy. You know, I've requested, anything in writing. All I've gotten is basically a bill from a corporation with a customer number on it, and I'm like, okay, this is a bill. It's not really a complaint put forth. You know, there's no name. It's all entities and whatnot. You go to court. There's the prosecutor. At this point, do we turn and go, dear prosecutor, are you classified as a lawyer or a prosecutor? Do we attempt to sort of grab them at that moment and go, are you a lawyer?
So anyone can prosecute, right?
Yeah.
Anyone. But you can't portray yourself to be a lawyer on behalf of someone else, right? And most of the police prosecutors are not lawyers, barristers, solicitors. They do a diploma at TAFE to become a prosecutor because all they are is a secretary of the court. Your Honour, the complaint is the one so-and-so did this. Bottom line is, regardless of who they are, the complaint has to be filed in court. So the defendant knows what they're answering to as to the particulars. So whilst they might give you a brief of evidence outside of the court, whatever they serve you outside of the court could be very different to what they filed in court because it's not sealed. You don't know.
All right, well, you know, to keep it on the speeding fine thing, because it's kind of what I'm used to. You know, the last time I was in court was for a speeding fine, and you know, I repeatedly asked for the brief of evidence. Show me the evidence. Show me what you've got. If you haven't got it, we're done. Sort of thing. Three-step process is the Know Your Rights group, which amazingly didn't get a mention in Lawfare. You guys must be really upset. You know, all those years of hard work, and the ABC didn't give you a look in. Perhaps they didn't want to turn people to the attention of things that might actually work. But, you know, I'm standing there in the court. I'm like, what's going on here? You know, and the judge is like, you know, I'll forward you a brief of evidence to cut the story short. And I'm like, thank you, Your Honour. I have been requesting that from the prosecution, and they've failed to present any such evidence. And there was a deafening silence there for a moment as he stared at me because I've just kind of cut him off mid-sentence to make a point, you know. But is that an opportunity to sort of push forward and go, Your Honour, what has been filed before the court?
There's nothing in the court. There's not a single prosecution in Queensland, potentially Australia, that until you're ready to go to trial, that anything is filed in the court. There's a box under the desk. There's nothing. I went in today and I have court prosecutions out big time because you're allowed to see your file, the games. There is nothing. So the minute you're invited to court on the first appearance, it's an invitation. Unless there is particulars, further and better particulars in front of the court, filed in the court can't enliven, as I understand it, jurisdiction of the court. They're all performing off record in Darryl. What's that called?
Persona designata. But persona designata, when the High Court have looked at this, the High Court have said very clearly that when a judge or a magistrate is sitting persona designata, they are not sitting judicially.
And they can, but they're not. They don't have judicial immunity.
There's no judicial powers expressed. Now, how do we know once we've gone through the court hearing? How do we know? And there's a ruling being made. You'll get what's called a court order. So then we look at that court order, and the High Court said in a landmark case back in 1938, it's Paracene shoes, basket shoes.
Basket. Yeah.
And in that case, Dixon said very clearly that when a judge or a magistrate of a court has an obligation, when they write out that order must have the seal of the court, right? And it must be signed by that judge, right? And
not the registrar.
Yeah. So it'll have a name, it'll have the signature of the judge and the court seal. And that's known as Coram Judice order.
Yeah,
but the High Court said when you get, you've got to be aware that there are also Coram non judice orders, and they are to be treated as invalid, right? So what we've copped here in Australia, especially since about 2015, is you'll have be it a magistrate's court, local court, even district court, and you'll have the assistant sitting in front of the judge or beside the judge, and they will type out the order, and then you'll get that order. It won't be signed. It will have a seal of the administrator, the registrar.
Or just the stamp of the Crown.
And you sort of go, but hang on, who was the guy that I was in front of that made the decision? Who was that? Where is that on the order? It's not there. So the High Court have said that's Coram non judice. It has no legal effect, right? And when you call for that court order to be fulfilled under what the High Court have expressed, they can't do it. Usually you don't ever hear from the court again.
Never.
Because you've actually, so what have you actually been in front of? You've been in front of, and this is, the High Court has covered this. There's a classic case, Grollo versus Palmer. That's 1995. And they've said it's an administrator. So all you're actually sitting in front of is...
Administrator can't actually make an order.
It's a clerk.
That's interesting. I remember like some 15, probably closer to 20 now, years ago, I remember calling the infringements court in Victoria, you know, and I said, well, who's the infringements court? Can you explain to me how the infringement court has made some sort of, you know, ruling? I don't recall being asked to come into the infringements court. Can you tell me where the infringements court is and why I wasn't asked to come in to, you know, deal with this matter. Oh, well, the infringement's court, it's more like a desk that we just pass paper over. Wow, that must be some fucking
So
expensive
I
paper
went and
you
had a
guys
look.
have there,
I
given the
I
amount of
forced
money I've been asked for. But fundamentally, the infringement court is not a court at all. It's literally an office. It's a
It's
desk.
just an
They pass
administrator.
paper over as described by the infringement court itself. Sorry,
So
Heidi, go
today
ahead.
I went and forced the registrar to allow me to look at a past file because I have an appeal, and reluctantly, it took a couple of weeks to really force this to make him understand that disclosure, transparency, I'm allowed to see the file. And I saw the file today, and what I saw is I can't even discuss it. It's mind blowing. And I said, I need a scan of this. No, you can't have that. It literally, I saw the biggest corruption. The prosecutors have their own stamp. They're stamping it. There's no separation of powers. There's all these little squiggles and lines. And the registrar, and I hope he's watching, he was looking at me nervous. Totally nervous. And he said to me, don't be like that, Heidi. I said, you know what you've caused me? You've caused me this, you've caused me this, you've caused me this, because you haven't followed these. This is legislation.
It's what's called procedural fairness.
That's right. And I just said, so I'm sorry if I'm not being so polite to you right now, because I actually went to school with him and the clerk, small town. And I'm just like, no, if you know what's going on, then I've got no more respect for you. If you don't, I'm now telling you what's happening. So then I ended up calling the Mackay court. They told me something different to what he told me. The bottom line is every single case started in a magistrate's court, where every single case could be murder, manslaughter, all starts in the magistrate's court. They wait to see how you're going to play. They're going to wait to see this, and they don't enliven the jurisdiction because they don't file the particulars in court. They might have a notice to appear. You have to appear under the Drug Offences Act. Well, that's it. You have to know what you're facing when you go to court. Otherwise, you don't have to appear. The Justice Act says clearly you don't have to.
So are you kind of saying that fundamentally everything that's gone through the magistrate's court from your perspective in particular seems to have nothing more than they're chucking a line in the pond and they haven't even bothered to put bait in it?
Absolutely. From my opinion only, what would I know? And I can say
You've had a bit of experience in and out of court from a lot of different matters, but it seems like it's a case of they're waiting to see whether you respond, and it's your response that grants them some form of authority, because if nothing else.
This is about banking and ledger and off ledger and how the banking works and how the verdict and judgment, the bonds work. But I'm not going to go there. But right now, I know in my own heart, and I know with my own dealings, I believe I'm right. My opinion only. But what I'm going to say is my opinion is every single, to the point I have actually agent's principal notice to every authority, Attorney General, Legal Service Commissioner. I've already sent this to them, so I'm not even worried that they're watching me. I'm being sued by the Legal Service Commissioner. I can't wait to raise this in the Supreme Court. Brilliant.
I look forward to giving evidence in the court when they drag this podcast in for I don't know how many times now.
Yeah. So the bottom line is, to me, there's nothing more important to somebody who's been convicted of being guilty than the truth. And they will go to all lengths of the truth. And for me, that's been 8 years now. And now I've finally worked out the hook of why I can't actually get my truth out there. Because you're against the state. The magistrate, the prosecutor, the registrar, they're all legal aid. They all work for the same fucking team, all remunerated. not contracted, not whatever, remunerated. So they get all these special things. And when I saw the Lachlan Perry stamp today and the Emma Mare's different stamp, they all have their own stamp. And I said, oh, who stamps that? And they said, oh, it just makes it easier than writing their name. And I said, what, you can't write 3 words? Oh, no.
So
And I
what's
said,
the
well,
significance of the stamp, though, when you think from the layman's point of view, somebody doesn't quite comprehend? I mean, the first thing I think of, signet ring sort of thing, old school sort of fucking royal noble sort of construct where we stamp our signet ring into a bit of wax to say that
But
it's
who's
me and
stamping it?
whatnot. Is a
No,
stamp fundamentally trying to be that, or is it something else?
But who's stamping the stamp is the question I asked today. Did Lachlan stamp the stamp? Did
Well,
Emma
the person
Mace?
with the signet ring should be stamping it themselves. It should be their stamp. But if you're making a stamp and there's 50 of them and you've got 50 people stamping it for you, it's kind of like getting an autographed signature from your favorite football player, but your football player's never seen it.
Yeah.
Let alone signed it.
It shows their authority. So wherever you see the crown, and this comes back to land ownership as well. So in the feudal days, back in the sort of the 1200s, when our right to own private property was granted, all the landowners put up their seal, their family crest. And on that family crest, they would get on family crest, you would have the crown. Okay, so to be the crown of that particular monarch, and that would be part of that crest. That shows that the king has approved that family crest, and so the king had their own seal to show that this has gone through the proper process. And the courts also, in order to show their independence, and the parliament, when they seal a document, it was with their particular seal saying, yes, we give authority to whatever's being said on this document, and it's to be applied accordingly until challenged, right? Until challenged. So, and this has flowed on. You can look at court orders, 50, 60 years old, and you'll see here in Australia, the crown, the signature of the judge, and the date and the order. It's a fairly straightforward piece of paper. And with respect to the letters patent, where the king has appointed a new governor general, they draft their letters patent. It'll put the king's seal, the date, and the authority and the process that they've gone through. Like I said earlier, Queen Victoria's letters patent for the Constitution of Australia's Commonwealth, that act. So that has an approval from the monarch, and an approval for the appointment of the Governor General, who then goes out and starts the election process and start the parliamentary process. So we, the people, look for these seals. We look for this authority, and we say, okay, well, because no one else can generate that particular seal. They are the only ones who have the authority. They're taking responsibility for it, and it goes on what's called the public record. And courts are, and you'll find this in all their legislation, it'll have one section where it'll say this court is a court of record. So therefore it's accessible. So anyone can pull up, okay, Joe Blogg had a case against the Queensland Police Service, and they can look at the ruling, they can look at the transcripts, they can look at everything that was on the record for that case. And that's all part of this public record and court of record, as our parliaments are. So when the parliament create a bill, which is a proposal for a law, they'll put it out onto the clerk of the parliament's desk. So they'll pass it so the general public can come in and they can read that bill, that proposal, and if they've got a problem with it, they'll file a notice with the parliamentary secretary, and that then has to be raised on the floor of parliament. So we've got a problem. We have this procedural fairness, this procedure that must take place in order for there to be transparency. so that we can go back at some time and say, hang on, you didn't do this particular task. Like the Parliament, for instance, have to, before they pass a bill, they have to sit 3 times and pass a vote 3 times before that bill goes through to the executive for royal assent. So there is all these processes, and we, the public, expect to see certain seals. So we know what the seal of the state looks like. We know what the seal of the Commonwealth looks like. We know what the seal of a court looks like, and we look for that authority. And then we can say, yeah, but what we're getting is these pieces of paper signed off by a registrar, which is a clerk, and going, oh, this is the court order. Well, no, it isn't. The court's already told me, the High Court of Australia, the highest lawmaker in Australia, has said, look out. Look out for these false administrative orders. Beware of persona designata. That's jurisdiction.
But
Okay,
Yay.
magistrate, are you sitting persona designata today?
Mm.
Oh, shit. I don't want to answer that question.
About that, you
That's
have
a
to
bit
say
awkward.
other particular. So if I can, hang on, I've just got to grab it. It's upset. Hang on, I'm going to read you something.
Maybe we'll just take a quick intermission because, it's about that time where I'm sure everybody, I can't take my whole computer set up to the toilet. I'm sure there's a lot of people who may be sitting on the toilet right now going, thank God nobody can see me. I hope you put the sticky tape over the top of your camera while you're in there. But I think now's a good time for perhaps a quick interval while Heidi grabs her bits and bobs and I empty out before there's a bad situation here.
Okay, sounds good, bro.
All good?
Yep.
All right. I'll see you guys in a few minutes.
Okay.
One, two. One, two. Okay, so, yep. 1, 2.
What the? There we go.
There we go.
So, my lovely family, typical class that is in this house, as you can tell, as I pour another home brew here, just swore at me and told me, get another bloody song. That was the polite version.
That was the
Well,
polite.
dear family, you know how much time I'll have to spend away from you to make another bloody song. With such treatment, why not?
Well, he's your family.
Cheers, my friend. All right. So, while Heidi's still looking for bits and bobs. Oh, she's back. Oh, that just saves me taking us on a tangent. Off we go. Heidi, please.
Got my stuff.
What have you got there?
I just want to read something. It's a transcript from my own case in regards to my major thing my massive discovery, and like Darren, he's not here tonight. I called him the other night saying, why aren't we on the Four Corners show? What happened to us? We're not there. Darryl, you didn't.
Well, they wanted to pick apart people that were easy targets. It's a typical school bully. They just want to go for the easy target. You guys are obviously far too intelligent. You guys are like the heavyweights. They don't want to do that.
Oh, I'm not.
These little featherweight bullies here. They got no hope.
I'm the mockingbird. I did this podcast with another ex-cop CIB guy the other night. He's like, how do you know all this? And I said, I just happened to be put onto this guy called Darryl O'Brien. He told me about this thing called the Constitution, and I was allowed to have a jury. And he said, the paper says that you won in 12 minutes and blah, blah, blah. How did you know how to do that? And I said, well, I just used the Constitution. In actual fact, it was about an indictable offence that I could have a jury because I could pin it up. But the irony is that is what it is. And here we are 8 years later. Anyway, I've got an appeal in front of the district court. I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you right now, without that man that didn't have a voice. And that really bothered me. For 2 months, I couldn't bring him every day and annoy the crap out of him. He potentially recovered, but the damage. I'm going to send you a damages bill, Darryl.
That's it. The damage to Darryl's bill, the courts have to pay.
Yeah.
So I raised. So this is a matter that's in front of the court at the moment, and I've got an appeal. And look, I've really kept it off record, but I was charged with a serious assault charge that I was not arraigned on, and as Darryl said, it's the most corruption he's ever seen in a court case of such a trivial matter. So I raised on the first day that the court didn't have jurisdiction because of an indictable offence, that I was allowed to commit it up. I'd put in an application for committal. And anyway, long and short of it, the trickery that they did. And this is paragraph 10. And it says clearly on this transcript that you can't read it all, so you can only tell people some parts of it. So I'm just going to read paragraph 10.
Hang on. You can't read. Is that because there's a reason you can't read it?
Copywritten.
Sorry, you actually totally broke up during that. Can you please repeat?
It says on the front page of your transcript from Queensland Courts Tribunal Transcripts Proceedings. That's what it's called when you get a transcript. And at the bottom of it says, warning, the publication of this information is likely to lead to identification of persons, blah, 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 blah. So you can't give all of it, but you can give some of it.
So you just can't identify persons, perhaps?
Well, that's how the papers get enough to write shit about you, right?
Mm.
All right, so paragraph 10.
Well, it's good for them, but it's not good for us. Is that what we're saying?
Well, Just
Yeah,
saying.
it goes both ways, right? It depends who you are. And
Yeah.
for me, it's gonna go my way. Um,
It's okay
So-
for ABC and their bikie gangs. That's all right.
I'd be happy to talk about this on ABC 60 Minutes. Anyone that wants to talk to me about this, please come forward. Happy to talk to everybody about this. This is factual. This is the biggest thing. Every single case that's in front of the court in Queensland, as I understand information, only what would I know, is acting in persona designata, off ledger, outside the court until you say, I want a trial. Then all of a sudden they backdate everything, they throw it in, and I can verify that because I went and looked at my court file today, and lo and behold, I'm 100% correct. And to back that up, when I did go to a 6-day trial recently, this is paragraph 10. And whilst you have raised the particulars, because I said, I don't know what's going on, I will put that on record that yesterday, this is His Honour, and whilst you've raised the particulars, I will put on record yesterday I asked the registry to contact prosecution to provide the particulars. The reason for that is the defendant, Mrs. Ward, would know, as well as the court would, what the particulars are so we can proceed with the prosecution. What is the magistrate doing asking the registrar to ask the prosecution to make something happen?
Hmm.
Isn't
And it seemed rather ambiguous, as in, we don't need to answer that. Well, you know, and she knows. Like,
No, well, at the end of the
seemed like a
day,
bit
if
of a
I provided it and you got control, you would have been able to strike out the proceedings.
Hmm. So can we run that through? Really simple for like people who've got no clue about law.
So that's
Like,
section 42.
explain it.
Right.
I'm going to challenge you. I want you to explain it like either A, you're kicking a football, or B, you're throwing a line in the river to catch a fish.
We're lifting and winding. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be those specific, rudimentary, everyday activities. Give me an analogy of how that might work.
So Darryl has drilled into me since the day I met him. Jurisdiction, 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 jurisdiction. You asked Darryl earlier what jurisdiction means. It's a really ambiguous question. You can live in the jurisdiction of woodwork. You can live in the jurisdiction of cans. What is jurisdiction? The court.
I'm a copper in a chasing down the bandit, and I've gone outside of the jurisdictional borders of this particular state, and now I'm entering another police officer's jurisdiction, for example, to chase down the bandit.
Do you want me to explain? So at the end of the day,
Sorry.
you're going to court. Court has a jurisdiction. So you're in the Caboolture court, you're in the Proserpine court, you're in whatever court. It's a jurisdiction. To enliven the jurisdiction, you have to have why you're there. So if you own a house, you're there because your house is there. It's a residential. If you're summoned to court, there is a jurisdiction that says you're summoned to court because you committed 1, 2, 3, 4 offence. But you have to know what you're answering to, and there's many high court cases that says before you go to court, you must know what you're answering. So if you get an NTA notice to appear, you've been charged under weapons offence, or you've been charged under this offence. That's not a particulars. Further and better particulars is the grass is 2.5 centimetres tall, the sky is blue, the trees are green, the wind was smelly. You have to give particulars of the case of how it came about. And if there's no particulars there, you've got nothing to answer to. So when you walk into the magistrate's court, they go, are you the persons? There's a problem. Are you the persons, Heidi Ward? Oh, yes, Your Honour. You have been charged with this. And they allow prosecutions to read the complaint, which what they say is on record, which is not, because it's an administrative court, so it's on transcript. It's not a Chapter 3 court. It's transcript. And they scare the bejesus out of you. All right, by this date, you're going to be served a brief of evidence. How do you plea? Well, how can you make a plea if you don't know what you've done?
Exactly. Where's my brief of evidence, and then we can talk about a plea.
They can't do it. And they do it all through, just be quiet. You have to. I'm going to enter a plea. Blah, blah, blah.
It's actually interesting because, like, the last time I was in court, they didn't even ask me to plea. It was basically, I understand you wish to fight this, to which I said, with every bone in my body.
It's all trickery.
Mm.
So it can't be seen as fraud. It's trickery. They word it. And as a self-represented litigant, they'll shut you down straight away. If you've got a lawyer, they'll go, oh, the one so-and-so, he works at here and he's this and he's a great dad. He's this and this and this. Because
typical bullshit.
Every lawyer will tell you to plead guilty.
Yep. I get to make a buck and it's nice and easy. Don't have to actually do your job if the lawyer gets you to plead guilty.
Yep, that's
right. So what
exactly
are you paying? I just had a massive case of deja vu then.
Why would you pay if you're going to plead guilty anyway?
Exactly. What are you paying a lawyer for if he's just going to get you to plead guilty? What's my motivation here? Why am I paying you? The idea is you get me out of this shit.
He's bound to the state. He has to. They're all legal. Tell me one case that anyone's won in the magistrates' court, let alone legal aid. Give me one.
Legal aid, useless.
Can you Google it now and find me the magistrates' court versus can't see it. Not there. Can't find it. You will never win as I see it. And
that is a good question. Like, I mean, Darryl, you've been working on this for a long time. Have you ever seen a case where legal aid has won something for the people?
Never.
Well, it's not for the people. It's always for their client.
Well, that's a good point. Thank you for correcting me. Sorry. Bad question.
Yeah. And this comes back to jurisdiction. So what is jurisdiction? Well, when you go to court, it'll say in the act that binds that court, it'll have a heading jurisdiction and it'll show the powers of the court. So there are state courts and there are federal courts. State courts can operate in federal jurisdiction, by the plaintiff. So the plaintiff has a Commonwealth case, like for instance, the Commissioner of Taxation, quite often, if they've got a claim against Joe Blogg for not paying tax, for instance, they'll go to a state court first. They'll start the action in the state court. They'll get a ruling, and they put that state court in federal jurisdiction. So, they'll say to the court, right, you're no longer a state court. You're sitting as a state court in federal jurisdiction. Here are the charges. This Joe Blogg hasn't paid his tax or whatever. Then they'll just go through the procedure, and if he's found guilty, they'll get a ruling, and they'll take that ruling, and they'll go to a federal court. Like if the guy hasn't paid his taxes and he's ignored the court order, then they'll go to the federal court and they'll put it into bankruptcy jurisdiction, and they'll serve a creditor's petition, and next thing the guy's insolvent. So they use the state courts for that. So you can put a state court in federal jurisdiction. In fact, this is what we're doing at the moment. We're taking a registrar from a particular court, and we're charging them in the Supreme Court of the state, putting that court in federal jurisdiction, and saying this Commonwealth officer has misbehaved. Okay, so we're doing that at the moment. Every state court and the state parliaments and the state constitutions give the power to the government of the state to create a state court system. And that state court system has the ability to sit in federal jurisdiction. And when they sit in federal jurisdiction, it's under Chapter 3. But they, first and foremost, are a state court. So they're a state court that operates state acts. So I've always urged people, look at the legislation binding that court and have a look at the section relating to jurisdiction. It'll tell you, like here in Victoria in the Magistrates Court Act, it actually has a heading jurisdiction. And if you go to section 100 of the Magistrates Court Act here, and it'll have a subsection. It's section 100. It'll have a subsection 2, and it'll have where the court does not have jurisdiction. And it'll lay out where it doesn't have any jurisdiction, any powers whatsoever. And then in section 101, it'll say if the court comes across a situation where they have no jurisdiction, then we allow through what's called the Court Transfer Act for this matter to be taken into a court that does have jurisdiction. So it's all about what's called procedural fairness. And then you take, so for instance, here in Victoria, I can't go into a magistrate's court and I can't say I'm challenging the law that the prosecutor is relying on. Okay. And it says that in the Act, it says you cannot challenge a law. And that's called a statute bar. So there's a bar that's been put up that says what you cannot operate when one of the parties is, especially the defendant, is saying, I want to challenge the law. This court doesn't have jurisdiction. So what the lower courts do, no matter if that law is totally invalid, if it's totally unconstitutional, the court only see it as a valid law until it's been challenged. So there's no point going into a lower court and saying, oh, you're all a bunch of crims, you've committed treason, you've done this, blah, blah, blah. It just goes in one ear and out the other.
Past their jurisdiction.
Yeah, it's not the place, it's not the forum to do that. The lower court, they look at a law and they just say,
I'll be
valid.
back on court sniggers.
It's a valid law. And it's what we try and show people is if you're going to challenge the law that they're relying on, then follow the due process. There's a procedure that you have to follow in order to take it out of the lower court. So you're not giving them disrespect. You're just saying, hey, listen, your act, because you're what's called to the magistrate, you're what's called a creature of statute, right? So they're bound to their act and they're bound to the law as it's
the
written.
Creature Statute is the Justice Act, it is the Evidence Act. It is all of that. Right?
But that the statute
I'm going to let you shine right now, Darryl. Go.
But the statute binds that particular judicial officer because they're working at that level. So if they're working in a magistrate's court, they're bound by the Magistrates Court Act or the Justices Act or whatever it is in your state. That binds them. And when you go to that act and you say, listen, section blah, blah of this act says that when I'm challenging a law, then I need to be put into a court that can hear this matter. And here it says in section 101, that's the process. And then all that's left is the magistrate will say, okay, well, convince me that I can't deal with it. And then you'd say, well, there it is in the act. It says, I'm here to challenge the law. I want the court that I go into to declare a prohibition against that particular law. Okay? So they then go, okay, I can see your argument. What are your arguments? Well, for instance, let's say I'm going in under a charge of compulsory voting, right? So I've failed to vote at a local government or a state government or a federal government election, okay? So I failed to vote. The Electoral Commission will ring me up. They'll say, hey, listen, you filled out the form that says you want to go to court. Yep, cool. That's what I want to do. Okay, cool. So do you realise the process? They'll say, we're going to serve you a summons. You'll go to the magistrate's court. You'll answer for the charge under the Electoral Act, and there'll be a penalty given. I'll say, yep, fine. And they'll say, okay, what's your argument? What are your legal arguments? You give them your legal arguments, and you say, okay, I reckon I was interstate or wherever, I couldn't vote, so therefore that's my excuse, and I'm asking for the leniency of the court to see that and, not fine me. Or I'm going to challenge the Electoral Act. I'm going to actually challenge the law that the Parliament provided, saying I have to go to court or I have to pay a fine if I don't vote, right?
And that's the I've really got my shit sorted fucking approach, because my approach was I got an offer to answer a question. Did you vote? And I'm like, well, how dare you bloody lose my vote?
Well,
personally, the quickest solution is a quick letter saying, how dare you lose my vote? Where did your system fail? Prove that I didn't vote, and they run away and go, sorry, it's okay. No further matter will come from this. I've tested that. Obviously, you decided a far more, I've got a big set of balls here and I'm going to slap them right in your face approach. And I love this. Please continue.
I did this back in 2002, and it was for the state election. And I went into the court, and it was my first time in court. I went into the court, and I was just like thrown into this big courtroom with all these people and lawyers running around everywhere, and this magistrate sitting up there going basically, okay, case number, blah, 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 Smith versus the Electoral Commission or whatever. You go up, and the judge will look at you and say, what are you pleading? Guilty or not guilty? Right? And if you say not guilty, oh, gee, that's going to drag things out. Okay, I'll allocate a time and you can come back in at that day. Or if it's guilty, okay, well, this is going to be done in an hour. I'll allocate you to a courtroom upstairs. In my case, I just said no plea. And they were like, huh? No plea? Yeah, no plea. Because the option's there on the paperwork. They don't voice it there. Oh, okay. All right. All right. Well, we'll allocate you for another day. So the magistrate will say, I'll put that down as not guilty. Okay. So
no, thank you. That's not what I said.
That's right. But they can do this. They've created a rule that says, okay, when you're confronted with a no plea or there's a constitutional jurisdictional argument, then to make it quick and easy, the magistrate can put it down as not guilty. So then I went outside of the courtroom that day, and this chap comes running up to me, and he says, oh, excuse me, I just want to have a chat. Oh, yeah. I was just in the courtroom there. I'm the Electoral Commissioner for Victoria. And he said, I wanted to go into the court and see who it was I'm up against. And we sat down at the park bench outside, had a bit of a chat. And he said, do you realise no one's challenged this since 1923? I went, oh, really? And,
wow. That's very fucking absolutely how you can see from his point of view, what do I do?
Yeah.
I've got nothing to work with.
Well, he wanted to see who it was he was up against, whether it was just someone for shits and giggles or someone had a fair income argument. And I said, well, I'll give him my argument when I go into court. So, a couple of weeks later, I went into court, and there was this lovely sort of solicitor. She was there, and the bureaucrat.
Lovely as in easy on the eye, or just lovely as she was easy on the eye? How dare them throw in something that might distract you in that? Hey, see, that's why they wanted to suss it. All right, it's a bloke. Let's throw in some eye candy. That'll fuck him.
Totally, dude. And so they were throwing every trick in the book. And she come up and she said, listen,
that's dirty tactics, that is.
She said, I've actually downloaded and printed out the 1923 case. And she she had it all printed out, and she had highlighted these particular paragraphs in the act, and she was like,
Totally
okay,
primary schooled it. Awesome.
yeah, like really. And she had a lot of energy and passion behind this. She was like, wow, this guy's actually challenging. You know, this is going to make the newspapers or whatever. And there was this bureaucrat, little guy, little bald-headed twerp, and he was sort of standing behind this lady.
Darryl!
That was close. I nearly spit
What?
beer all over my keyboard.
You're on fire, Darryl. You're back.
And I said, and she sort of looked at me and she said, so what's your argument going to be? And I said, oh, it's fairly straightforward. I said, I just got the book out. It's only a thin book, and it's current law here in Australia, in Victoria especially. And I opened it up to the relevant page, and she looked at it. Seriously, all the colour went out of her face, and she started to fall back. And this bureaucrat guy, this little bald-headed twerp, grabbed her by the scruff of the
obviously,
neck.
this is lovely eye candy. Did you do the noble gesture and dive in to save her and give her the final sunset sort of moment?
Inappropriate.
No comment on the grounds that it might incriminate you. But
Thank you.
this bureaucrat dragged her off to the corner of the foyer in this court area, and he was just doing this, you know, he's lecturing this woman, and she was like totally deflated. She just lost all of her fire and passion, and it was just like, oh, okay. And we went into the courtroom, and the magistrate's going, oh, okay. She actually got up and said, oh, there's a contest hearing, you know, we're going to, so we need about an hour or whatever, hour or 2 hours. So the magistrate's going, okay, you can go to courtroom number, blah, blah. So we went upstairs to this courtroom. They opened up the courtroom. Security came in, lights were turned on. Magistrate wanders out, sits down, and the prosecutor didn't get up at all. We were just sitting in the public gallery, and the magistrate just said, Mr. O'Brien. Yep, I stood up. And she's going, oh, so you're challenging the electoral laws? And I said, yeah. And she said, so what are you relying on? Anyway, I read out this one passage in this law book, current Victorian law, and she just, there was a staring contest going on. Lasted about 10 seconds, and she's just looked past me, and she called out the security guy. And she's called the security guy out and said, oh, next case, please.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's it. Just next case.
Next case, please.
I didn't hear anything. This never happened. Next case.
Yeah. And I'm like, what do I do? And I was sort of standing still, but half sort of, what do I do now? You know? And the prosecutor, she was just sitting there like a star bottle of piss, with this bureaucrat guy sitting beside her, like they were just like statues. And
they're just as confused as you are, fundamentally.
Yeah, and I've just sat there and thinking,
you Darryl O'Brien.
And
I think you got a new lease on life there, Darryl.
And anyway, the magistrate then has gone on with this other case. These other people were brought in, and there was just all the hooting and harring, and I'm just thinking, what? Maybe this is the way they normally do things. I don't know. I haven't been to court before, you know. So I thought, I finished the coffee in a little bit earlier, and I thought, I better go and let that out. So I've
time to play some fine art dealer.
And yeah, I've gone to a place to find an art dealer. And anyway, I was only a few minutes, and I've come back, and the courtroom's been shut down. All the lights are turned off. Security's gone. Everyone's gone. And I've gone, whoa, I'm in the twilight zone here. You know, have I entered into this other sort of dimensional? I've stepped into the
parallel dimension.
Yeah, another dimension. And I've just gone, what the hell's going on? I thought, oh, well, I'll go back downstairs and see what's happening there. Maybe it's back in the first. I don't know. I just like, I'm halfway sort of going home. I'm like, well, this is just ridiculous. This is bizarre. So I've wandered downstairs to the first courtroom, and here's the security guy with his face planted up to the window pane in the door of where you go into the court. And he's seen me, and he's like, his eyebrows are raised, and he's like, whoa, and he's turned and sort of gone into the courtroom. And I've recognised him and gone, hey, yeah, you're the Muppet that I was security. And I've gone in, and here is the first magistrate sitting down at the bar table, not in her usual spot, and the prosecutor and this little twerp. And they've looked up at me as I'm walking towards them in the court, and the magistrate's just gone, and I'm fining Mr. O'Brien $150 for failing to vote. And I was like, excuse me, but what the hell's just happened here? And that was my first experience in court. And I'm like, this is a joke. This is just pathetic. This has really hurt them. This law has really hurt them. They don't like this law at all. And I guess that was really one of my major thrusts to going, hang on, I smell a rat. And I did. And now I'm a weapon.
Yeah, and you are.
I failed to vote at the last local government election. And they send me the paperwork, and I ticked it.
You're accused of.
I was accused of, allegedly. And I've ticked I want to go to court box. Well, I got a phone call probably 2 weeks later. Oh, this is the Electoral Commission. Oh, here you go. This is not being recorded, which means it is.
We're recording it, but only if it works for us.
Oh my God, Darryl, I've got 10 more minutes and I'm going to take off.
Okay.
I'll talk to you
Heidi's
tomorrow.
busting to say something. I can see it. It's almost like me busting for a piss. All right, go for it.
There's no point. I'm just glad to see Darryl back in fine bloody form. It's just it's 10:30 and I already know all these stories. It might sound a bit boring, but 8 years of every day talking to Darryl. But we can talk about the other stuff tomorrow. But I just want everyone to know what a legend this man is and how much the stories and everything. I'm just bloody tired because 8 years of fighting my own battles. Yeah. And, I'm not being rude. It's just 8 o'clock Friday night. It's now 11 o'clock.
Totally get it.
No worries. You're excused, Heidi. You're excused. Hey? You're excused.
Oh, I didn't ask for him to be excused.
Dismissed.
I'll dismiss myself. No, Darryl's amazing. Big kiss on your forehead, Darryl. Get it? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Catch it.
Yep. Got it.
Yeah. Right. So that's what we do. All right. But yeah, I wanted to talk about other stuff. It doesn't matter. We can do that another night. I just think this man, Darryl, I want people to hear his story. I want everyone to hear his story. I don't need my mug on this site because I've heard it all. I already know this.
Oh, good. We'll get you back into, and probably by then things will have progressed. So yeah, no worries, Heidi.
I know.
All good. Thank you.
Listening to, absolutely, he's a legend. He's an absolute legend.
No worries. Have a good night.
After
you got to crash. All good. Thank you very much for joining us, Heidi. Like both Darren and Darren's not even here. Darryl and Heidi have, both popped in at the last minute to help save what was otherwise an empty night. So thank you both for coming on very much.
See ya. I'm
Talk to you
out
soon,
here.
Heidi.
Night,
All right,
guys.
bye.
Bye.
All right, my friend. Wow, it is astoundingly good to hear your voice in full throw again. But yeah, continue your story from where you were. Sorry.
Yeah, so I'm going. They rang me up and they basically said, "So you want to go to court on this?" Yeah, I do. And I said, "I'm going to challenge the legislation." And by the way, the magistrates' court doesn't have jurisdiction under the Act.
There's
So
that
I
word
gave
again.
them- There's that word again. And they were just like, "Oh, okay. So listen, mate, all I'm really here to ring you about is let you know that it's going to court. There is a possibility the fine could be a lot more because, there's costs and all this sort of stuff.
Fear.
And yeah, it's all about the fear. You'll receive a summons. So like, that's very serious when you receive a summons. Oh, fear, Oh, okay. No worries. I'll get over it.
So we go. I'm gonna summon the rain. Let's do a rain dance. Summon a rain.
Well, it's working in southern Queensland. But
Hey, it's dry season.
and
It's not happening here.
and I gave him a quick spiel. Anyway, he said, "Well, expect the summons within the next 2 weeks." No worries. Sweet. 2 weeks goes past, nothing. 2 months go past. I get another phone call. Oh, it's the Electoral Commission. Oh, how you going? Gee, good thing I wasn't holding my breath waiting for that last summons. Oh, about that. About that. Yeah, it was. Yeah. Well, we just got overwhelmed. What with people challenging the electoral laws?
Overwhelmed. Well,
He's like,
we're gonna overwhelm
well,
doing our job.
yeah, we're just doing our job. Yeah. Listen, what are your legal arguments? Oh, yeah, no worries. I told him. Blah blah blah. Oh, okay. Well, you really, and I said, by the way, I'm challenging. It's not going to stay in the magistrate's court. It's going to go up to a high court. Oh, okay. Well, we'll expect the summons within the next 5 days. Well, that was 2 weeks ago. I'm still waiting. I've got to the point now where Monday I'm going to ring the Electoral Commission and say, listen, it's okay. I'll pop into your office and you can hand me the summons in the office. How about that?
Mm-hmm. I'll bring a film crew. You can actually audibly give it to me.
Yeah. You can have all the witnesses you like. You can put it on Facebook Live or whatever.
Yep.
I'm more than happy to accept the summons and I'll see you in court. So that's where it's come to, because I'm quite keen to get into the court system and say, guys, we've got a bit of a problem with this whole compulsory voting business. And you guys don't have the jurisdiction to hear it. That's what the law says. So it's very interesting times, mate. Very interesting times.
Man, I'm busting to see how this turns out.
Oh, I'm going to have fun because you see, they've used compulsory voting as a way to essentially, if you look back over the last 120 years, they've used compulsory voting to manipulate the Australian people into it's a method, a very insidious, ingenious method.
Would coercive even be an appropriate term?
Yeah, it's like in the US, it's voluntary. In England, it's voluntary. We're one of the only countries in the world with compulsory voting. And
I can't think of another one that does have compulsory voting.
There are two obscure countries, one in Africa and another one in South America.
Okay.
Yeah.
So third world nations.
Yeah. And you got to say, hang on, what's the science? What's the psychology?
Three places in the whole fucking planet force you to vote.
Yeah.
And the other two are third world nations. And we have this ABC documentary telling us that we live in a fanciful delusional reality for thinking that we, the people, as stated by the Constitution, has some sort of merit in this country.
Yeah,
Funny, isn't it?
it is,
It
isn't
took
it?
2
It's
hours
not a
and 15
coincidence.
minutes to wrap that whole idea up, but
Yeah,
here we
it's
are.
like, geez, someone's really sat down and thought about this, as I have. And I've gone, okay, let's look at the ramifications of this. We can look back in history and say, okay, every 3 years, just for the federal election, say, we'll just use that as an example. We go about our lives, we get confronted with government and days of our lives on our propaganda machine. And it's like, who cares about what the idiot brigade do? And it comes time and some muppet stands up there and says, we're going to have an election. It's going to be in 6 weeks' time. And then it's election gear everywhere. Everywhere you go, you've got signs, you've got nothing but bullshit on the radio, the TV. Everything is all about, the upcoming election, but make sure you vote, blah, blah, blah. You get knocks on the door. And you go to the shopping centres and it's the same sort of pressure.
Random text messages from fucking
Yeah,
Clive Palmer.
text messages, blue team, red team, green team, vote for the greens or the blue or the red. And then we all just
I thought it was really fascinating that the red team and the blue team never thought of it till Clive Palmer did. First thing they did was bag Clive Palmer for doing it and then did it themselves. That's brilliant.
Right. Yellow team.
Nothing says I'm a corrupt asshole quite like bagging someone else for doing something and then doing it yourself.
Right.
Wow.
And next thing, we're the punters. We're just like, will this day ever come? I just want to get down there, tick the box, tick my name out of there, and I'm finished with it all, right?
Yeah, everybody's just waiting for can I get, execute them all box?
Yeah.
I reckon, people will be queuing up for days. So, no one would resist. Would you like the government to stay or have them executed? I tell you what, executed would be fucking 95%, I reckon. And people would be that no one would complain about voting that day.
Now we look at England, we look at America, and America is probably a perfect example. No one is forced to vote. So the people that do vote, they're passionate. They follow very closely everything that Congress does. They're in contact with their local member. It's part of their whole makeup. They're a Democrat or I'm a Republican. It's so deep. And
it's still red team, blue team, but at least they're involved.
But it's a different psychosis. It's a different form of psychosis that takes place. And the same
psychosis or psychology? I don't know.
Psychology is probably better word.
Psychology. I think psychosis, particularly when you're so devout to red team, blue team, is not an inaccurate word.
That's right. I was on the nail. I've hit the nail right on the head.
Yeah.
And they're passionate. And what was the main thrust with the last election in the US? It was, we're trying to fire people up who have never voted before to take that plunge and register themselves on the enrollment form and vote, because this is maybe the last election, blah, blah, blah. So, and they got about, I think the number was about 7 million more people to vote at the last election in the US than ever voted before as such. And all the statisticians were out sort of going blah, blah, blah. Now here, I believe, because there is no permission in law for the parliament to bring about compulsory voting. It's called a head of power. There is no head of power for compulsory voting. So the parliament do not have the authority to write a law saying you have to vote or you get a fine in the mail, or you can elect to take it to court and give the court a reason, plea on the court, please court, can you forgive me for not voting, right?
And that's a problem with plea. Look at that. I've got my coaster stuck here. Look at it. North Queensland Freedom Network. Coasters ready to stick to your glass at any time. Anyway,
so
contact me if you'd like one.
That's the major difference, and it's worked. It's worked so well here. The psychology that they've instilled in the Australian people, that all of the propaganda and the whole machine around the voting
Fear.
for the parliamentarians,
It's fucking
has
fear.
and there's no one that cares here. We just sort of go, oh, if I don't vote, hey, it's a $20 fine or a $40 fine. Bugger it, I'll just pay the $40. Or
Yeah, well, that is one of the sad things where people just go, oh, just fucking pay the fine. No, you don't have to. You just turn around and say, prove it. If you want to be lazy about it, ladies and gentlemen, prove that I didn't vote. I swear, because they send you a notice and it says something to the effect of you allegedly didn't vote. What's your response? You know, so they send you a letter asking you, did you or didn't you vote? If you say, well, fuck you, government, I didn't vote, I fucking hate you, blah, blah, blah. Well, they're going to go, wow, thank you for the admission of guilt. Here's a fine. Or you could be smart and say, fuck you, prove that I didn't vote. And they go, oh, sorry, we won't bother you again.
Yeah.
Or you could be Darryl and go, well, I've checked out some serious shit here. Let's play.
Let's play. Let's go into your court and let's play. Is this law valid or not? Put it under the test. Put it under judicial review and put the blinkers on the court and say, rightio, first I have to be put into a court that is capable of wearing those blinkers. Is capable.
Now, I wish I was a rich man, but I'm not. I've got $5 here because I wish I could pull out a 50 or 100, but I can pull out a 5 because that's all I got. Thanks, government, for the amazing tax return, by the way. Return? What? Anyway, so I got $5 that says Darryl's right.
Yeah. Oh, I know I'm right. I wouldn't go doing this sort of shit if I was wrong. Believe me, I'm going to go in there and say, you show me, well, to the High Court of Australia or to the Supreme Court of the state in this case, can you provide me with the evidence that the Parliament has the authority to bring in a law making it compulsory for enrolment on the vote on the electoral rolls and to vote? And they can't. Like here in Victoria, we got the Constitution Act 1975, and Section 16 of that Act says that the Parliament can bring about any law on any subject matter whatsoever. Yeah. That's terrific. And that was inherited from the colonial constitution before they became a state. But they, once the Constitution came in and once they became a state, they then were bound under the Constitution of the Commonwealth. Mm-hmm. And there are residual powers that the state can exercise, and there are concurrent powers. So that's concurrent means laws that or heads of power that the Commonwealth can exercise as well as the state. And nowhere in any of those heads of power is there the ability to force people to take part in any election. Yeah. It's written. And we inherited a law from England that's enshrined in every state that cites that very law. Mm. So you go, hang on, and I've got another very powerful argument, but it's written. There is no authority. You take away from their house of cards the whole system of government here. You take away compulsory voting. You pull that card out. That's one of the foundation because they
Labor government's fucked.
They put compulsory voting into our laws. The first state was Queensland, and that was 1912. 1915, the Commonwealth passed a law making it compulsory to vote at referendums.
So the first place that compulsory voting started was in Queensland as a state law?
Yeah. Yeah. Queensland's been
sorry, we've not had this particular conversation, if not I've forgotten. But so they've done that under state legislation to forcibly make the residents of Queensland vote for state. Did they have any federal jurisdiction to do that?
No, the feds can't do it.
Yeah.
Look at
And the
section
state
41. Look at section 41 of the Constitution of the Commonwealth, and it talks about elections. That's the heading, section 41.
Section 41 of the Constitution, eh? Give me a second. Might be the other tab. Yeah, that's the one I'm looking for. Giving the mouse wheel a good flogging. Oh. Something's not righty. Share screen. All right, where are we?
Section 41. No adult person who has or acquires a right to vote.
Hang on. I'm seeing numbers everywhere. Oh, yep, here we go.
Yeah.
Got
No
it.
adult person who has or acquires a right to vote at elections for the more numerous House of the Parliament of a state shall, while that right continues, be prevented by any law of the Commonwealth from voting at elections for either House of the Parliament of the Commonwealth. So it's a right to vote.
Yeah.
And the key words in that top line.
Mm.
Acquires a right to vote. So no adult person who acquires a right to vote. So where's the right to vote sort of come in? It's actually it's restricted only by age. And if you go to section, I think it's 34.
Well, again, it's defined by adult.
Yeah, adult, and who acquires a right to vote. Okay, so by age, at the time of the Constitution, the age was 21. And and when you go to section 34, it actually has where it has 21 years of age, and it's got until the Parliament otherwise provides. So the Parliament, and I can't remember the exact year, but the Parliament lowered the age to 18. And yeah, 34.
These numbers are jumping all over, like 36, 43. I think I have a bung version here. 43 until the Parliament otherwise provides qualification. No, that's not it. 33, whatever vacancy. What the fuck is going on with this version of the Commonwealth? Oh, Constitution, sorry. So what was the number I was looking for again?
34.
Where's it? 33.
Yeah, 31, 32, 33.
There's something wrong with this bloody file.
Yeah.
Something not right here.
Go to off lead.
Yeah, I was just about to say, something very wrong with that. And we were looking section 34, qualifications of members.
Yeah, qualifications of members.
34. Yep, there it is.
So until the Parliament otherwise provides, the qualifications of a member of the House of Reps shall be, he must be of the full age of 21. So you can't be a member of Parliament, which means also that you can't vote, essentially, right?
And they want to reduce the voting age. Straight,
Yeah,
already been reduced past legislation, it would seem.
But because the words that section start off with the words until the Parliament otherwise provides.
Yeah.
right? So that means the Parliament can make a change, for instance, to the voting age or the age that you can qualify to be a member of Parliament just by a law. They can create a law which says, okay, this is the voting age law, and we're now we're modifying the Constitution to say you've got to be 18. Okay. They have the right to do that. And I think there are about 15 or 16 sections of the Constitution which have the words until the Parliament otherwise provides. But in section 5136, it says in there very clearly, wherever those words until the Parliament otherwise provides is subject to this Constitution. So they can't take away, they can't create a law that says basically you got to be 5 years old or something, something silly, right? That doesn't make any sense. And yeah, they can lower it to 18, but I believe that's the limit, sort of thing, personally.
So 35, was it? 5135?
5136. So matters in respect of which this Constitution makes provision until the Parliament otherwise provides. So they cannot go outside of the boundaries of the Constitution itself. So they can't, for instance, say it's now compulsory to vote.
Yeah.
Because there's no permission in that Constitution to force people to take part in an election.
Yep. And most importantly, it's we the people, as stated in the preamble, as we pointed out at the beginning of this podcast, we the people must maintain this. We have to be knowledgeable of it. Obviously, our ignorance has allowed this to continue, and our complacency even further so.
And I believe that ignorance was put there psychologically through the compulsory voting.
Mm.
And
the socialist indoctrination centers that have intentionally not told us about these things.
That's right.
It's amazing how many people are. I think one of the most empowering ones, or I don't know about empowering, but enlightening, I guess, was sitting around some of my former martial arts people. And they're talking about self-defense and all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, well, what about self-defense from the government?
Yeah.
Can any one of you name one of your rights?
Yeah.
And they were fucking dead blank. Have you heard of the Constitution?
Yeah.
Silence.
Yeah.
These are martial artists. They're all talking about defending yourselves. And they knew nothing of law.
And that's right.
And it was a huge fucking moment. While training martial arts, I'm like, wow. You know the one law, which is, well, you've been trained in martial arts and you are now considered a lethal weapon. You have to be very careful about how you interact in society in that regard, but you know nothing else. Interesting.
Very vulnerable.
Mm.
And in fact, martial arts in particular rely mainly on it's a psychological thing. Because it's mind training as much as it's also physical. It's aligning the movements of the hands and the feet with what the mind is thinking. It's a mind sort of meld as such. You have to discipline yourself. You have to discipline yourself in order to act in a physical sense. You've got to make sure your body's in good condition. And, there's a whole lot of there's a whole rhetoric around the martial arts and the condition of the mind. And what we've been deliberately held back from is the law. And it's been put into this exclusive zone. And for those who out there who read the Bible, read Luke 11 verses 46 to 52, and you'll find why this has been the case. And it's straightforward. So if you can pull up a version of the KJV Bible, Luke 11 verses 46.
Oh, hang on. I got to convert it to the KJV. It came up with the New International Version.
Which is the corrupted version.
Well, look, you know, I don't want to get too deep into corruption and the Bible because, look, let's face it. Can somebody show me the one written by Jesus's hand?
Well, actually,
and prove that it was his hand. But anyway, look, without deep diving too much into this, let's just address this.
So when you look at, there are what's called red letter Bibles. So wherever the red letters appear in the New Testament, they are supposed to be the words of Christ. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And this is part of that. So when you pull up a red letter Bible, you'll find Luke 11 verses 46 to 52 is actually the words that came out of Christ's mouth. I think it was at the when he was doing a lecture at the temple.
46, you said?
Yeah, to 52.
All right, so we've got 46 right here.
Yeah, and 52. 252. So
and he said, "Woe unto you also, ye lawyers, for ye later." I don't know. Later, is that the right word? I'm treating it Germanically here. Later,
for ye laid men with burdens grievous to be borne, and ye yourselves touch not the burdens with one of your fingers. Woe unto you, for ye build the sepulchres and the prophets and your fathers and killed them. We go to 52, and it says, woe unto you, lawyers, for ye have taken away the key of knowledge. Ye entered not in yourselves, and them that were entering in ye hindered.
Yep. Stole knowledge and stopped people from seeing it.
You don't
That's
want
the way
people
I translate
to
it.
know the
Please
law.
correct me if I'm wrong.
That's right. So this is a time of reckoning now.
Oh, fuck
we are confronting tyrannical governments all over the world. And what are they hiding behind? They're hiding behind the fact that the majority of the people have not been prescribed what governments can and cannot do in order to keep governments from getting tyrannical. So
they're hiding behind their willful attempt to stop us from knowing, and then the ultimate desire of the general population to just watch grown men play with their balls in public instead of learn shit, and the regurgitation of watching TV series after TV series or whatever other mindless crap you found on YouTube. It's just, can we keep you distracted so long that you won't realize what you should be looking at? Don't learn, please. Whatever you do, don't learn. Here's a monkey playing with his balls over here. Hey, look, there's another guy here trying to hang himself with his scarf. You know, he might be named Epstein or something, you know. Don't look here. There's no information.
And this is why the parliament, this is why when we see what's going on in our parliament, has got nothing to do with lawmaking. It's all about, hey, this is days of our lives, you know.
Yeah.
This guy's having an affair with that woman.
Go Palestine.
Yeah, it's like,
go Israel.
Straight. Don't look at what we can.
Can we drag in some non-consequential bullshit from a third world nation or some nation that has nothing to do with Australia? You know, like
go and fight.
Hey, even better. Can we pay a bunch of people who claim that they're Indigenous and know their own culture to sell out their own people?
That's right. They don't.
Welcome to the country, whatever the fuck that means. Because I know a lot of Indigenous, and
Yeah.
they don't like it any more than I do.
And it's all a distraction. And it's a distraction from what they can or can't do. And it's a distraction from the fact that the parliament, that's just the idiot brigade. They just, it's seriously, there was a law back in the 1500s under Queen Elizabeth I. And she brought out this law, and it's called the Idiots and Lunatics Act.
Really?
Yeah, no kidding. And
Isn't that just the definition of politics at
Yeah.
this point? Like, wow.
it is. And their distraction, that's the monkey playing with its balls. It's the cat videos. It's the parliamentarians just doing their crazy shit. And you sort of, people just turn away from it. And then they put up this compulsory voting as part of this psychological tool, out of their psychological toolbox, to further alienate what the government's actually up to. And especially here in Australia, because we have the most powerful laws with respect to keeping those in government in check and balance. And they don't want that out there. That's why I'm toxic to the likes of ABC or any of the mainstream media, because the first question
they didn't fucking mention you or even show your photo.
No, because the first question I'll ask is, have you read the Constitution at all? And by the way, once you read that, just do a Google search on the Constitution. Within the Constitution itself, can you please just put in that search engine Prime Minister, and their whole house of cards collapses because it doesn't exist. So if the government
or political party, as I understand.
It's a political. You got to vote for the Liberal government or the Labor government or the whatever government. So hang on.
I can't help but feel that they're having a party at our expense.
Oh, mate, and it's now to the point where they're selling off our country. You look at the mining.
Well, you got to pay for the party somehow. These guys are having a great fucking party. Yeah. They're getting pissed every fucking night in taxis and limos and all this shit. They're having a great party.
They're having a great time on their expense. And we're paying like the gas. We're selling off all of our resources, and we're paying the rate of countries that are receiving.
Hang on. Let's just back it up. Don't get this white privilege out of check. It's the indigenous people's resources they're stealing because we're just white people who just happen to be born here. Like, what the fuck connection could we have with the land by being born here? Fuck, there's another kettle of fish that people really want to think about. But there's these indigenous people who barely make up 1 million people at a 26 to 27 million. I think we're somewhere in that vicinity now. I mean, the way Albo's importing them, we're not far off 30 million. Albo imported in his first term more people than there are indigenous. That's how much he gives a shit about the indigenous.
Well, immigration has been used as a weapon against sovereign countries for the last, especially 10 years. It's a weapon.
All Western nations are suffering this same problem.
Yeah, it's a weapon.
And they're all protesting at the same time.
Yeah. They rely heavily on bringing complete strangers into a country if they want to trash the rule of law. So then the propaganda machine is running amok to convince people, hey, listen, we don't need any of these laws. Really, we're better off handing our sovereignty over to this thing called the New World Order, which is a growing thing. They've already set up the One World Court in Jerusalem. So it's all there. All the pieces are in play. Now it's time to convince the average punter, listen, we don't need all these old dusty laws. They haven't done us any good. Look at where we are today. Yeah, look at where we are today, only because you've ignored those dusty old laws. And the punters don't know which way to look because the lawyers have been hiding those laws from you, and they charge a king's ransom to represent to be represented in the courts, and you don't get anywhere. They just say, hey, listen, just plead guilty, make it easy, and we'll all go home.
I see they pull out all the skullduggery they can. How dare you fucking have learnt something? We're not going to give you credit for at least. There's no 50% credit here.
That's
No.
right.
If you
Oh, no,
don't know it
we're
100% all in, out, and backwards, we're going to fuck you hard.
Oh, big time. And this is where we are today. And we've only got ourselves to blame in a sense, but it's been quite a deliberate psychological game they've played on us, the Australian people, and our for the last 100 years, in order to keep us as far away from the
generation after generation. So you know, you
and
can't just blame your parents or your grandparents. It's like, I mean, you know, as you know, I guess very early colonial bloodline. You know, we were dumped here by fucking the British as criminals at the very, very early points of Australian law. It took us a long time to figure out that the first of my bloodline to touch foot on this soil came here as a convict. Surprise, surprise. Sure, you are all fucking surprised. Yes, my bloodline is a criminal. Unlike the ABC guy. Anyway.
But yeah, we're in this position right now. We can either allow this Online Safety Act, which will be the last nail in our coffin. Once that gets put through, we have to identify ourselves in order to operate on the internet. And guess what? We're all being forced to operate on the internet because the banks are shutting. You know, everyone's being encouraged to buy everything online, and you won't be able to buy or sell. Okay, unless you can provide identification. And one of the requirements, if you go to the Digital ID Act, it actually talks about having a MyGov or MyID form of identification to go to do this stuff online.
Give me wrist, right. I figured it out a long time ago. It's what the tattoo.
But in the Digital ID Act, I urge people to go to Section 74, and you'll find it's voluntary. So they have to, once you call them out and you say, hey, listen, I don't consent to this digital ID, they have to provide a platform for you to operate on that service without ID. They don't tell you that. They're not going to get on Channel 9 and say, hey, look at Section 74. This neutralises our whole digital ID melodrama.
Awesome. Well, you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. And I guess when it becomes a real issue, we'll show you how. Well, maybe we should show them how to start with. We are at 2:48. And again, my bladder has reached that point.
We'll call it a night.
Should we have a quick secondary break?
Oh, no. I've got to get up early.
You done?
Yeah, mate. I've got to go and do my High Court stuff tomorrow.
Fair enough. We don't want to keep you away from the High Court. That's fair enough.
So it's the time.
Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. You'll have to come back another time.
Oh, not a problem. But
have Darryl explain to us further how to fight the system.
Yes.
Thanks heaps for coming on, man. It's great that you stepped up at the last minute when needed, and it's great to actually hear your voice again.
Real voice.
To that little fucking demon that was fucking with you before that's now been removed. That's awesome. You've had the demon removed from your voice. There's one way of looking at it.
Officially, yeah. They've got it at the Iron Ear Hospital. So that's awesome. But yeah, it's good to be back here, mate. It really is, but it's I always enjoy coming onto your podcast.
Love having you, man. I'm just it pisses me off that it's 3 hours and I feel like we haven't even scratched the surface.
I know there's a lot to do, but hopefully the punters have got something out of tonight.
Yes,
and if they have, then power to you, and use it. Always diplomacy is the key. Don't tell the copper he's an arsehole and all that. Don't try and say we've got to hang them all. No,
make peace.
Make peace and undo them using their own system. And because the system is full of narcissists, they've actually, it's like they turned on this narcissist magnet and drew all the narcissists from around to become the bureaucracy within our system. And narcissists, you got to study narcissism and how to undo them. You undo them through their own rules and regulations and laws.
Yeah.
Because it's all there. The way
Don't
to
feed
defeat
them.
Don't feed them. Just question them. Never tell them they're a pack of arseholes. Get them to admit it.
Yep.
That's the
it.
key. And that's how the system will collapse.
Let
under
them dig their own hole.
That's it. That's how we do it, mate. That's how we do it.
Well, Darryl, thank you very much, my friend. Looking forward to seeing some amazing results from the work you're doing. And again, anybody who wants to be a plaintiff for some of the amazing ideas you guys have got forward, drop me a line, drop Darryl a line. Drop Darryl a line at say again.
At info@knowyourrightsgroup.com.
info@knowyourrights. I thought I
or
had it
yourself.
Here,
You can email.
Yeah,
if you want to
you
more
can hit
directly.
me up at nqfreedomnetwork@protonmail.com and I'll pass on any messages. Look, if you're an amazing human being and you have an amazing story, you can also hit me up at nqfreedomnetwork@protonmail.com. At the end of the day, like, let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, it's not about me or it's not about Darryl. It's about all of us. We're all, the way I read the Bible, and please correct me if I'm wrong, we're all children of this God. It's not really the word I like, but it's a word that everybody kind of gets. I prefer a different concept that is actually beyond words, because that's the way I see it. But I don't think, well, let's work with the words that we have. I believe we're all a part of God. You are God. I am God. We're all God. We're all the same thing. So if you, as a God, have something to share, drop us a line. nqfreedomnetwork@protonmail.com. Stop thinking you're a serf. Stop thinking you can't. Start thinking that you can. And you can find me and Darryl and Darren and Heidi and all the amazing people we get here and become a part of the community of people who are doing shit.
That's it. Be part of it. Don't sit on the fence.
There's nothing amazing about any one of us. We're just doing amazing things.
That's it. That's it, bud.
No worries. Thanks heaps, Darryl. Much appreciated. Sips, ladies and gentlemen. See you next time.
See you.